Folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. Today, I am thrilled. I got to talk to this gentleman when he was on last season of Traitors, but it was really brief. It was really quick. So I'm excited to talk to him a little bit longer this time, and not only about the Traitors and this potential new cast of Traitors that we have in the castle, but you know, if you've been listening to the show, that I am fully addicted to Love Island USA right now in season 6 on Peacock. And guys, our guest today went to the end of Love Island Season 5, Love Island USA Season 5, and he can say something that most people that are on these shows can't say, that he actually met the love of his life, Taylor Nicole Smith, on this show. He is a wealth of knowledge. He is joining us live from Minnesota right now, the one, the only, our sweet burgerlicious, Carsten Bergersen. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I remember when I was doing my Traitors press day and I had 20 minutes with each interviewer, and you're one of 3 that I remember doing and really enjoyed all the way through.
That actually means a lot, dude. I remember you showing me your notes. You kept notes on everything, and I thought, what a great way of actually taking the game seriously. And I thought, well, that's interesting because you came from Love Island USA, which is a game as well, but it's a game where hopefully you actually find somebody that you can couple up with and find love. Did you treat Love Island USA when you were on the same way you treated Traitors, where you really got into the gameplay of it all, or were you just going by raw emotion?
Somewhat of both, actually. So when I went into Love Island, I watched the previous 4 seasons, and I noticed that there was kind of a heartbeat to it. There was a sense of rhythm with it. And in every season of Love Island, the girls got to choose which guy to dump, and the guys got to choose which girls to dump. So they changed it up this year. But I remember when I was in Love Island, I was I need to be nice to all the girls, because if it ever comes down to a public vote, they could vote me out. So I was I had that thing going on. And if I was ever in the bottom 4, I would go to Hannah and Marco. I'd be like, okay, guys, if I'm in the bottom 4, who are you gonna save out of those guys? I was playing it as a game too. I was okay, and if we're not, who are we gonna save if there's a bottom 4 vote tonight? I was always kind of playing that in Love Island.
Because you had a tough go of it a little bit, and one of your pieces of advice is you gotta hang on, right?
You just gotta keep hanging on, and you never know what the next day is gonna bring.
I mean, that's the thing in the Love Island. That's why I think it's fascinating that everything can turn on a dime. And I'm trying to explain to the audience that have never watched Love Island, because I watched Love Island UK first. And I was like, oh, and this is the first season where I'm like, wow, Love Island USA is more enjoyable than I'm in Love Island UK right now. And I was like, wow, bring it home, America. But you kind of started that trend with your season where things started getting more viewed in terms of our audiences over here. And so much so that they chose you to go to the Traitors, which turned out to be an explosive season. Why do you think that they chose you out of this entire cast of let's pick Carsten to come with us?
I honestly, I always wonder that myself. I'm how did I get on Love Island? Out of all those people that applied to get on Love Island, why me? And I think it's just I have that genuine goodness to myself. Whenever I succeed, it's a win for everybody almost. It's I'm the underdog. Fun to see the underdog win. So I have this underdog story, and hopefully I'm getting past the underdog story, and now I'm the top dog almost. I'm still working my way to the top dog. So
don't get too cocky. Do not get too cocky. We need you
cocky.
Be pure. We need because that's the thing I think that they brought you to the Traitors for too, is that you had this goodness about you. And it was interesting that then you and Pilot Pete kind of teamed up, because you both seemed kind of good people, which actually kind of got knocked against you in the Traitors. But it is interesting that they're both surrounded by gameplay. Are you you're a fan of Love Island at this point, right? After going through it was such a good experience that you will continue to be watching this show.
Huge fan. And I think people are wondering why is this season doing so much better than previous seasons? And I think Peacock, they've upped their cast every single year that they've had Love Island. This is their 3rd season with Love Island. I think season 4, they got people on the show, but they just kind of stayed in their couples. If you look in the final 3 couples, they were all day 1 couples from the very first day. And I don't know if that was their strategy going in for those Islanders or what it was, but it's very boring to watch, a bombshell come in and then they just did the boot because it's like everyone's too scared to go out of their comfort zone. And it's super fun to watch now, like after 3 seasons of like Peacock developing like their Love Island, that they're like, okay, we need to get rid of people that are just going to stay in their couple, or we want the craziness of it.
Well, right now, the only kind of people that are almost closed off are Kaylor and Aaron. And Aaron almost got his head turned the other day by Andrea, but then Andrea went for Rob, and I think that kind of made Kaylor and Aaron stronger. And it's fine if you have one couple that's close to closed off because it works to their advantage in terms of us, the audience, kind of like, oh, they've been together, we like them together. But if it's everybody closed off, it's not that exciting to watch at all. But, I mean, in today's day and age, it is funny. Like, does anybody want to settle down at all? So it is interesting. Like, you actually found, you're still with the person that you met on Love Island USA. Like, that's insane. You are the exception, not the rule. I mean, are you still blown away that you guys are still together?
Yes and no, because my thought process going in was like, I want to find someone that I can settle down with. So I was already 50% there, if that makes sense. Yeah. I just needed to find one other person that wanted to settle down. So like, if you're ready to settle down, like you're halfway there. You just need to find the other person that's ready to settle down. And with these Islanders, I don't think anybody's ready to settle down. Not even Aaron and Kaylor. Like, I feel like Kaylor is kind of walking on eggshells right now around Aaron, because like sometimes he's very emotional and she doesn't know what to say and want to like turn him away. So I'm really curious what's going to happen in Casa Amore.
Yeah, and explain to the audience, I was trying to explain to them last night what Casa Amore is.
Okay, so it's like a total batch of guys and girls are going to come in. They're going to separate the guys and the girls that are currently in the villa. So the guys are going to, this year it's going to be the girls staying in the villa. The guys are going to go away to this place called Casa Amore, and they're going to bring 5 to 7 girls for these guys. And then the girls are going to be in the villa that we are watching right now, and they're going to bring in 5 to 7 guys for those girls currently in the villa.
And then they have to make a hard decision if they want to bring the guy or like stay with the guy or stay with the girl, or, I mean, it's really kind of a really interesting wrinkle that really shakes up the game a lot of times. And by the way, so this is a little different than Love Island UK. I think it's like 2 less weeks, right?
Yep, 2 less weeks. We're 6 weeks.
And also, just what is the prize if you are the top spot on Love Island USA? What does this couple walk away with financially?
$100,000. But at the end of the season, they both get a card, and one has the $100,000 in it, and then they can choose to split it. So it's gonna be. I wonder if Leah or Rob won, or like, I don't know what the couple is right now, but if one person wins it, they might just keep it all right now.
Well, you brought up Leah and Rob to me are a I'm not going to call them a couple because but it is fascinating. They started off together. It has been so interesting because Rob just dealt with Andrea leaving, which was like tears. Like, I've never seen so many men cry in my life and then Rob threatened to leave, and then Aaron was in tears again. But basically after that happened, we had this reconnection, like where she came back to Rob and said, listen, I'm still into you. But Rob, it seems, is wisening up and, went to the rest of the people and said, hey, I think she's saying different things to you guys than she is to me. And I think tonight's episode, we're finally going to be able to see what the outcome of that is. What is your take on Rob and Leah right now?
I think Rob blames Leah for all of his problems right now. If we go back to like when Andrea first came in, he was like trying to figure out where I think he knew he was more attracted to Andrea. I can't pronounce her name right, but Andrea.
I know. I keep saying Andrea, and then I talked to her yesterday, and I was like, "Is it Andrea?" And yeah,
Andrea. And then they're having that nice chat, him and Andrea, and then Leah comes up there, and now he's conflicted, and then he kind of put all of the blame on Leah during that conversation, and then he went and plopped in the pool, and then he's blaming Leah right now for Andrea leaving again. So it's just I think he blames Leah for a lot of his problems, and I don't see them getting back together.
But this is what's frustrating. Leah, then got paired up with Connor, and then Connor is now giving Leah the ick. And, he thinks that Connor wears too tight of pants, and it is hysterical. But like, why do girls want the bad boy? Like, Leah is immediately like, oh, I'd be willing to give Rob a second chance. And I was like, girl, what are you doing? And then it makes it seem like Leah did purposely get Andrea out of there.
Yeah, I personally don't. I understand where the girls were coming from. I don't know if you remember my season of Love Island. We got rid of Emily and Harrison because they were kind of doing the same thing. Like they weren't exploring any other options. They were just gonna like lie low and like get to the finish line. And we're like, you know what? We want people in here that are gonna mix things up, and like try and test connections because it's not fun having someone in there that's not gonna try and test connections. So we got rid of Emily and Harrison back last year. So I completely understood where the girls were coming from. And I don't think it was just Leah's decision to get Andrea out, but I do think she was a part of it.
Well, it
Nonetheless.
seems like a lot of heat's going to come down on her potentially tonight. So you actually believe that the girls were saying, hey, because listen, Aaron was crying. It's Love Island, not Friendship Island. And if these two people were still exploring their romance, I was thinking that they would actually choose Nicole to cut loose because Nicole was between Kendall and that new bombshell Miguel, who that dude's a player as well. So I was kind of shocked that they chose Andrea to leave. But I like that you kind of understand what they were doing. You were saying like they're going to close off potentially, and that won't be good for the game.
Yeah, and the other thing, yeah, especially if you want to win $100,000 at the end of it, you got to get rid of the people that are going to place higher than you. That's another thing. Like, it's a game at the end of the day. I think people forget that. And along with it, it's called Love Island, and I know people are like, "Well, it's not Friendship Island," but you want people that are going to be with you, that are going to help you find your potential, future partner. You don't want someone around there that's like being like kind of a bitch to you. You want to get like someone. I want Serena there hyping me up when I find my man and like giving me the best advice possible because Andrea is not going to give me that advice. Like you want people around you that are going to give you advice for your future relationship.
Yeah, no, I mean that totally makes sense. Now, Janae was paired up with Hakeem, and then Hakeem got let go. And I talked to Hakeem yesterday, and Hakeem was telling me that Janae is the mastermind of the island. That Janae watched every season of Love Island. She came in completely knowing the game backwards and forwards, and he thinks Janae is playing a huge game. What is your take on Janae when you watch her?
See, I was the same way. So when I came in, people were always asking me, like, what's next? What's going to happen next? Like, what can we expect to happen next? When are the bombshells coming in? What, is it going to be a boy bombshell, girl bombshell? And I've kind of been doing it this year as well because you can just kind of predict it. So, like, I bet Janae knows, like, I'm just predicting. She knows that this set of bombshells were going to come in. There's going to be one more elimination, and then it's going to be Casa. So she just needs to survive this next elimination, which she is, because I bet it's going to be a public vote. They're not going to let the Islanders choose. And then we're going to go into Casa Amore.
And so what you mean by that for people that aren't watching, the public vote is that we actually at home get to vote on who is in the bottom and who potentially gets to go. And then the Islanders, they sometimes had to choose, like, we got to vote, but then the Islanders had to choose Hakeem and Andrea to leave the other night. So it is really interesting. So she is playing that long game like you were playing. But I mean, there is something though, we don't see on the show them talking a lot of gameplay. It's really about like coupling off and having the chats and all of that stuff. But it is interesting, like how much in your season were you guys talking about gameplay that didn't make the season? Was it like a constant, like hour after hour of talking like that?
I would say at least an hour a day was dedicated to it. But like I kept it on the down low. I didn't want people knowing I was talking about like voting someone else out. Because like I didn't want people to know like, okay, we're gonna vote Leo out tonight if like we get the chance to vote Leo out. Like that's something you don't want Leo to know.
Yeah.
But like it was definitely brought up in conversations. Like we talked about getting rid of Leo and Cassie because like we didn't like them pairing back up and like disconnecting and then pairing back up. So like by after Casa, we were done with it. And we're like, we always talked about getting rid of Leo and Cassie.
Well, Were the producers ever like, stop talking about gameplay? Just like, I mean, like, because it doesn't actually usually make it to air, that stuff talking about gameplay. So I was curious how much of that actually is in the back of their heads, because we, the audience, don't get to see a lot of that. Like, I don't know if Janae, like, I mean, I think they've brought up Casa like one time so far. And so I was like, wow, are these people, are they aware of what Casa is? And then talking to Hakeem, letting me know that, oh, yeah, Janae had watched every season, knew, but Andrea said, oh, yeah, I went in completely cold. Like my mom watched it and was telling me things, but I came in cold. And she said she didn't take her mom's advice of being nice to the girls. She just went for like Rob immediately.
Yeah, so that was the thing too. So like Marco, Leo, like there was a lot of people on my season that have never watched Love Island before, and they would come to me for advice. I'm like, what's it was always and like, what's this Casa thing coming? Like, should I be worried about that? I was like, no, it's gonna be a good time.
It's gonna be a good time.
So that's a nice thing. And then like I don't think anybody else, I think I talked the most strategy as well. So I think, you know, the producers heard me on Love Island talking about all this strategy about voting people out. And they're like, I think Bergie could probably do well on Traitors because he's always talking about this.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah. Just probably like I probably spent an hour a day, you know, talking strategy. And I always went to Marco and Hannah because I knew they were probably like the public's favorite couple at that point. So I knew like they were going to have the power, like when the Islanders get to choose who to vote out next. So I was always going to Marco and Hannah. They were like my top couple like to game plan with.
You showed me your notebook for Traitors. Are you able to have like a pen and paper on Love Island USA?
You are not. So that's a different thing. So it's because you're being filmed 24/7 on Love Island. They didn't want any distractions. So it's just yourself and your clothes.
Well, and the phones are just like to take pictures with. It doesn't have access to any kind of internet or anything like that.
Yeah, well, it's connected to the internet in the what do you call it? The villa, but it doesn't like you get your camera, your photos app, and then the text messaging app.
Oh, okay. Text message. That's it. Wait, can you text message the other contestants?
No, you can't text message anybody.
Oh, I was like, God, that's brutal.
Yeah, so you only receive text messages. You can't output text messages.
What was your most embarrassing moment on your season of Love Island?
My whole first day. I would say the first day. That was if I could get rid of any episode, it'd be the first day. But I think that's when people like really loved me as well. So
yeah, that's like what endeared you to everybody is that first day. So potentially those things that are embarrassing to you actually make you more human in the eyes of everybody, which is a great thing to use. And then you were able to get in there enough and like start doing your gameplay. In terms of your dating life before you were on Love Island, what was it like? Were you like pretty good with the ladies? Were you like how did you approach ladies before Love Island USA?
Yes, this is the crazy thing. So because I did pretty well, personally, I think I did really well on the dates that I had before Love Island. The thing was, I knew these girls before I went on a date with them. Like I was maybe friends with them for a year or two before I'd ask them out. Or months.
Oh wow! And so you went to the friend to romantic pipeline.
Yeah, so like I already knew them, so I had stuff to talk about. And for me going into Love Island, it's like I've never met this person. How do I start a conversation? Like it was just, you know, a different mind game for myself because I did way better in the real world because I would go from the friend to relationship.
Yeah.
So I would put myself in a hole, and I, you know, because I talked with production about like dating girls in my past, and I was, you know, probably way better at it than when I was in Love Island because I was like, I just was going straight to kissing, you know, like I've never met this person. Now I got to kiss them the first day I've met this or first couple of hours.
Yeah, you have to. Everybody snogs on Love Island. That's part of the games is everybody's kissing each other.
Yeah, and I wasn't mentally prepared for that because I thought it was going to be, you know, because I'm such a like I need to know more about you before I move. And it was just like, oh, this is instant. Like it's now. So it was a different mind game for me.
Oh, I would be a basket case. What made Taylor, what made Taylor different for you? Like what made Taylor like the one that you ended up being with and the one that has your heart? What makes her special?
So in terms of Love Island, I was always trying to find someone and then I gave up. I was like, this is stupid. I'm still here. I'm not going to find anybody. And it's funny because you know how people in the real world say stop looking and then you'll find them. And that's where I was at in Love Island. I was like, this is dumb. I'm done. I'm going home very soon. I don't know when. And then I don't know why, but I like pulled Taylor for a chat. She was the last girl I talked to in the Casa Amore cast. And I was just like, you want to just ride this out? Like you and I, like, I don't even care if you even like me. We can just ride it out. We can make it. Like, I did all of that. And I was super relaxed about it. And then she's like, no, I don't want to fake it. And like, that was our first conversation at like, Wish You Were Here. And that was the same night we went to the Hideaway. But like, we just had like, that first conversation went so smoothly. I was so relaxed. I wasn't like caring about anything anymore, about being on Love Island or about like whatever. Because I was like,
yeah. So like that. So you were like the most yourself that you could ever be.
Yeah, and like we talked about like Guardians of the Galaxy because she loved Guardians of the Galaxy. So like I just remember our very first conversation. We talked about our family, friends, like what we do. Like she's from Texas. I'm like, have you ever heard about Joe Rogan and like want to go to his comedy club in Austin? So like we just had this very chillaxed conversation. And then what really sealed it off was that same night we got to go to the Hideaway.
Yeah, by the way, explain. This is what's so exciting for people that have never watched Love Island. There's so many little intricacies to the show. Explain what the Hideaway is.
The Hideaway is a private bedroom that still has cameras, so you know people are still watching you. But you get private time away from the Islanders. Because, like, wherever you are in the villa, you can sometimes, if everybody else is quiet, you can definitely hear the conversation being had across the villa. So it's like your own private time to have your own conversations and just get away from everything and just enjoy being with one another. And if you want to have sex, go for it because you have your own bed.
But the cameras are there, you guys. The cameras are there. That's but that's the Hideaway. Somebody is. So that's amazing. You were the most like yourself, and you actually got to be yourself, and then that is what like kind of obviously blossomed your relationship into what it is now. What is the detox like when you leave Love Island? Because I've been talking to some of the Islanders when they leave. I mean, poor Hannah had been back from Fiji less than a day, and I was talking to her, and she seemed like she was like rope-a-doped, like where she didn't know which way was up. What's it like after being there for so long and then coming back to the States?
Yeah, so I remember like we left the villa and then we had to stay in Fiji for another 2 days because we were ahead of airtime 2 days.
Yeah.
So we were in our hotel and I had a migraine because I'm like, it was like there's no cameras watching me because I was always kind of looking at the camera. Like I wasn't watching for them, but like I knew there was cameras on me and I didn't have a mic on me. And it was the first time nobody was hearing my conversation in 42 days. Like that's a crazy thing. Like I had like a new sense of freedom that I could say, not that I could say anything that I wanted to say, but it's like 2 million people potentially aren't going to hear this anymore. So like, I just remember a huge headache of just like coming back to reality. And the other thing is I got asked to do Traitors right after. Like
so that was right. I was wondering what the time, but yeah, it was like the next day you got asked to do the Traitors. What was the thought process? Was there a thought process of, I don't know if I can do that like immediately, or were you like, yes, yes, yes?
I was like, yes, yes, yes. Because I already deferred from PT school. I didn't have a job. So I was like, what the hell am I going to do when I get back home? And it's like, oh, I'm going to Scotland. What I'm doing when I get back home.
So you went right from Love Island into the Traitors, which is a whole, I mean, it's still gameplay, but there is this sinister tone to it. All of a sudden, Alan Cumming is in, you're like, you're a traitor. And you're really having to, deal with all of this different set of personalities, but there's not romance involved. Also, were you nervous about leaving Taylor? Like, you're back, like, I'm not going to be able to talk to Taylor for a little bit. Did that play in at all?
Yeah, that was like the hardest thing about doing the Traitors was getting time away from Taylor after we just started our relationship. That was the big thing. But I was lucky with Traitors. They like, unlike Love Island, you're not allowed to talk to anybody for 41 days. Like no family members, nobody outside the villa is going to hear anything that you want to say unless it's on Love Island. So I was lucky enough. Traitors, they allowed us to call home for like 10 minutes not every day, every 3 days ish. They let us. Is
somebody like hovering over you while you're talking to them?
Yes, you can't talk no gameplay there, and like who got eliminated, none of that. And like nothing that you've seen in Scotland. Like we couldn't say anything like that. We could just like say, "How's your day going?" Like mine's going good, but I can't say anything, so I'll just listen to what you have to say. And that was super nice to be able to do that.
So would you call Taylor or would you call your family?
So sometimes, because we were 8 hours ahead in Scotland, so sometimes I'd call Taylor. She'd be at work, and I might get like a 2-minute conversation with her, and then I'd use the other 8 minutes to call my dad or grandpa or whatever.
This is such a great piece of information. Like I wish they would film I want like everything. I wish they made a documentary about how these shows were put on, because I think that's fascinating, of like splitting up your time between your family and Taylor. But then when you come back from Traitors, you guys immediately picked up where you left off, and you've been going strong ever since, right?
Yeah, very, very much. So like once I got back from Traitors, and like she flew up to Minnesota to help me pick out my outfits for Traitors. So that was like a fun thing we got to do. We went to the mall, and I spent the most money I've ever spent at the mall. But I was like, it's for a good cause. I'm going on TV. But then I flew to Dallas, and I spent like 2 weeks with her, and then I came back home. And then I just did some job searching, got a personal training job. And then, because I needed some time too. Like I took that month, because I just did 4 months straight of reality TV, like no breaks. It was all gas, no breaks. Literally put 3 months in the villa and then a month in Scotland. And it was just like, I've worked, because like it literally feels like every day you're working, because you don't get to go on your phone. You don't get a break from it. It's your life. So I felt like I worked 4 months straight with no weekends. So it was just, I took that month, detoxed, like went on social media here and there, and then had some fun. And then I just hung out, and then I got a job as a personal trainer. And then once Traitors finished airing, I decided to go back to physical therapy school. So that's what I'm doing.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I mean, and listen, I want to get into the Islander contestants, but just really quick on you though, it's like, so you're in all of that stuff, but would you go back to reality television if the right show called?
Oh, 100%. I even want to even make my own reality TV show. Like I have a game show in mind, and I saw like Peacock did something where like you can submit your own reality TV show. So I already have a game show in mind that I have.
Yeah, like, cause I mean, you're one of the people that I'm like, God, I kind of root for you, like there's bad vibes associated, and especially with a lot of the male reality show people that we see, like, it's like, oh man, I want to see you on another reality show. You're like a really good, like you're a different kind of vibe than we see on these shows. And I think that's like necessary, but also what is the Love Island to personal trainer pipeline? It seems like everybody on Love Island is a personal trainer at some. I mean, Hakeem was telling me he trains other people to be like personal trainers and make wealth. I mean, you guys are all ripped on this show.
Yeah, I don't know about that. And I really don't support online personal training, because then you have so many clients, like the people that make, 6-figure salaries personal training online, they're not having that like one-to-one personal connection. Yeah, so then you're just a trainer. You're not a personal trainer anymore. So I personally don't support online personal training unless it's like,
so you do it in person. You're in person.
Yeah. So I'm not making a ton of money doing it, but like, I also don't want to take that factor out, like I like the personal. That's why I'm like, I'm going to go back to physical therapy school and get my doctorate. And then my goal is to then do another TV show, win the show, and then open my own business.
Why don't you have your own Love Island podcast? Why don't you do your own daily? Like, I mean, like you have such a good brain for this stuff. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm fascinated with it. We need voices like yours. Did you ever consider doing that?
Oh yeah. I have a YouTube channel. The problem that
your YouTube channel.
Yeah. But like, I would want to start a podcast as well. It's just, I have no one to talk to. So it's really hard for me. Like I have no one else to do it with. So like that's
dude, I'll do it with you, man. Let's do it right. We're doing it right now. This is the first episode. Back to the villa of this season. I wanted to go through some of the characters and get your take on them. We obviously Rob, we talked about briefly before, but Rob is such a conundrum for me. Like, I can't tell if this guy is the smartest man in the world or the dumbest man in the world. I do not know, like, if he's a good guy, a bad guy. He's all over the place. What is your take on Rob?
Yeah, so I always try to put myself in somebody's shoes, try to figure out what their brain processes is like right now in that moment. So like when Rob was like frustrated about the Andrea and Leah situation, and then Leah came up, I think he just had a full-on mental breakdown. He didn't know what to do. He didn't want to be that pressure put on him because he was already cooking in a pressure pot, and that just like collapsed it. Now the pressure pot exploded, and he exploded it all on Leah. So I don't think in a normal environment, he's not dating 24/7. He's not having all this pressure on him, and like the Love Island villa just kind of exploded on him, and then he exploded onto Leah, and then he had to go jump in the pool. So I think in Rob's normal life, that would have never happened where he was gaslighting Leah like he did, and then plopped in the pool. So I think he's not a bad guy. It's just the environment he's in. He just doesn't know how to handle the situations he's being put up against.
So you thought he was forced into gaslighting, but normally he wouldn't have done that.
I wouldn't say he was forced into gaslighting. He just handled his like mental breakdown terribly. Like he could have just walked away from it. There's other things he could have done, but like the way he handled his mental breakdown wasn't the best way to go about it.
Yeah, it was interesting though, but it got to a point where then Leah the next day like apologized to him. I was like, how did we get to a point where Leah's apologizing to Rob? And Rob, by the way, has gone through 3 women that he's been curious about so far. So the other thought I had, and I don't know, Carsten, if you feel this way, is Andrea. Do you think there's a possibility they put her in Casa Amore?
If he gets back with Leah, I would love to see it. Because like Rob's got to be thinking, no way they bring her back.
Yeah,
Rob's got to be, and like unless he's because like in season 5 they brought Marco's ex back, Hannah, and she came back to try to win Marco over. And I would love to, I think everybody in the world that is watching Love Island right now wants to see Andrea back in Casa Amore, just to stir the pot.
And the reason I say this also is because when I interviewed her yesterday, and this is in the show, they didn't have me cut this, is that she doesn't have her phone back yet because Hakeem is home. Hakeem is out there in the real world. And I think Andrea, she didn't say she's still there, but she doesn't have her phone back yet. And I was like, there's no way that she wouldn't have her phone back if she was away from that villa.
Yeah. And I know some other people that are like, pretty... Like, it's going to be an exciting year still. There's still lots to come.
I'm so excited for Casa. What do you think the odds are that Rob does get back with Leah? Because like we said at the beginning, Rob does now seem very highly suspicious of Leah.
I think whether he does or not, I don't personally think he is, but I don't think it matters whether he does or not. I think he's going to make it to Casa. Production is like, if Andrea is still there, they're going to let Rob make it to Casa. Like there's no way they'll like, if there's a public vote, they'll find a way to keep Rob there. They'll influence the votes of the Islanders. They're going to find a way.
He's reality show gold. Like I do love watching him, but do you think he'll get back with Leah? Do you think he'll even though he's suspicious, do you think he'll let that ride?
Cause he said he's like still open, but he's not open to
Leah.
Yeah. Rob is just so crazy. It's so dramatic.
But is that his gameplay, Carsten? Is that his gameplay? Is that what I was thinking? Like, is this the smartest man alive? And he's doing this as like some kind of weird 3-dimensional chess, and he's playing like this really weird game, or is this just truly who he is? Like, that's what I think he's fascinating to watch because I really can't, like, every time I watch him, I think 3 different thoughts.
Yeah, I'm having trouble distinguishing it. Like at first I was like, this is just Rob. Honestly, no, I'm going to say this is just Rob. I think this is just Rob. I think he is not going to get back with Leah, and he's going to get back with Andrea and Casa Amore. That's my game plan.
I know.
And then finally...
You think he'll get voted off then?
If he doesn't get back with Leah, that's going to end... Oh, so if Rob is a strategic genius like he is, he knows he needs to get back with Leah if he wants to stay on the show. It's just like Leo and Cassie last year. Leo and Cassie, broke up. They got back together. Casa started. They broke up. They got back together. So if he's trying to win the show, that's who he's following. He's following Leo and Cassie from last year. But if he's not a strategic genius, people are going to continue to hate him. So he knows he needs to get back with Leah. If he's thinking like outside the box, he's like, I need to get back with Leah. Then in Casa, I can break up. But if he doesn't get back with Leah, I think he's going home after Casa.
Okay, that's amazing. Now, we had this game the other night where it was like stick it or twist it, where you had to dance and there was a wall up between the couples. And, you could choose if you kept dancing and then that means you were still a couple, or you could choose to stop dancing. And then it was revealed to your partner if they had stayed or gone. It kind of shook things up for a lot of players. But I mean, I almost teared up for poor Cordell at the end of the other night's episode. He was sitting there with his champagne glass, almost crying because Serena, he thought she was going to stay and she didn't stay. What is your take on them as a couple, and why did Cordell go back to Serena?
You know, it when she said she was a slow burn, it immediately made me think of Carmen when she did that to me during my season. I was like, oh no, Cordell. I was like, Cordell, no. And I saw it coming. You know, I think a lot of people did see it coming, but people were just trying to hide from it. And I was just like, it hurt. It hurt seeing that. And now Serena's the bad guy, even though she did lead him on. I think she's open and honest. We can do a friendship couple until another bombshell comes in. Because back in Love Island season 3, there was a guy named Corey and Cachet, I think her name was. And they were very open about their friendship couple. And once a bombshell came in, they were like the biggest supporters of each other. Like, yeah. And then Corey ended up winning the season because like they were big supporters of one another. And like that's the way, if you want to win the game, that's the way you need to do it. You need to be open and upfront because the audience likes it when you're open and upfront about it. And like you can be friends. If they were friends, I think we'd still would have voted them as one of the best couples because we like them as individuals. Now Serena has put herself in this problem area where she's like now where Carmen was last year when she played Victor and I and got herself into some trouble.
Yeah, I mean, Cordell caught feelings, and that last camera shot of just Cordell, like, over that balcony, like, sad, I was like, dang, man, like, you really feel for Cordell, and, like, I want Casa to happen for Cordell. Like, I want him to find somebody, but there's a lot of people in here that I feel a little bad for, and, you know, right now, Kendall, right?
Mm-hmm.
He tried to, you know, he's with Nicole, but then Miguel came in, and this Miguel is like a ladies' man. Everybody's head was turned for Miguel, but Cordell got his feelings all like he's so sensitive that he, you know, started treating Nicole weirdly because she was having conversations with Miguel. So he chose to stop dancing, and Nicole kept dancing, which boggled my mind. Do you think Kendall really screwed up in that moment?
I think he did. He definitely shot himself in the foot. I think it's better to show you're still interested and still supportive in a way if you're sticking, even if she twists. Because the reason he even said it himself, he didn't want to look like an idiot.
But yeah, I know, because he's so sensitive. Like, dude, like you got to go with your gut.
Yeah, and sometimes it's better to look like an idiot and show I love you more than looking like an idiot. Like, I don't care if I look like an idiot because I have these feelings for you. And if you back out, it's just showing I don't have these feelings for you. So I completely get where Nicole is now coming from. Like, I don't know if I should really be with him because I was still there. I was still supportive. So I think, you know, Kendall's really shot himself in the foot. And like the other thing is too, if you're thinking about the audience and you're in that situation, it's better to be up there looking like an idiot because you still have the audience back. Like the audience is standing there for you, even though Nicole wouldn't be standing there for you.
I mean, I was shocked that Nicole stayed. Like, so but also now it gives Nicole a reason to fully hook up with Miguel because she's been rejected. So I feel like it gives her an out. Whereas before, if she had hooked up with Miguel while she was with Kendall, we would have really thought poorly potentially of Nicole. So I think it really puts her in an interesting space because I don't truly think she likes Kendall in that way.
I honestly don't either. Because if you remember when she came into the villa, she talked to Cordell, Kendall. There was one other guy. Cordell, Kendall. Oh, Hakeem. She had a conversation with Hakeem. And I felt like the conversations all went very, like they were all the same. Like they were all the same conversation. Like none of her conversations felt like, oh, this is her guy. This is the person she wants to be with. I never got that vibe from her. So I don't know if I'm feeling that with Miguel right now with Nicole. Like, I don't think Nicole's person has shown up yet.
Well, yeah, and I think Miguel is all over the place. I think he wants to be with potentially every woman in the villa, and he probably could if he wanted to. What's your take on Liv?
Liv, I love her. I think she's a typical, like, Australian, very straight to the point, no bullshit. Like, if you watch Love Island Games, there's Jess from Australia, and I think Australians just have this thing, no bullshit, get straight to the point. I don't want to beat around the bush. You tell me like how it is. I don't want to like sit here and hear all this bullshit all day. So I think Liv is like a perfect casting choice for like the casting choice this year is spectacular. Like it
really is.
Like you have every demographic or however you want to call it that people can relate to. You have the toxic relationship. People relate to the toxic relationship. You have Cordell, who's like getting rejected, but like people love to see like the underdog, which was me last year. So people are loving Cordell. You have kind of the villains like Rob, like because he's part of the toxic, and then you have Serena, and then you have like Kendall, like that's like not really in there, but like it's just fun to watch.
Well, you know what we don't have though is that we don't have that couple yet that because I don't think necessarily Kayla and Aaron are this. I think there's potentially like we don't have that one that you're like rooting for. Are you rooting for a couple right now at all, Karsten?
No, not even Kayla. I don't see Kayla and Aaron if they want to work on the outside world. Like they have a lot to work on because I really do feel like Taylor is in there right now walking on eggshells to keep the relationship alive. Like she's carrying that relationship.
Yeah. And it was interesting because her head kind of briefly turned and then he got upset. And, then she was like, oh. And now it's interesting when his head potentially got turned almost with Andrea, she started panicking. So it really is interesting to see what else will happen that could potentially turn either of their heads. But yeah, that's what I guess one of my final questions for you about Love Island is who do you think will win and who would you want to see win out of this group?
Cordell, take it all.
Really? Cordell. So it goes down between Cordell and Serena. You have a chance to share the prize. You want him to take it all?
Take it all. Is he in a couple with Serena right now? She just twisted.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, but also the thing is, if he had to, he's such a nice guy, he would share the money. There's no way he would take it all.
I know, but he'd get that Cheez-Its commercial or whatever he wants.
Yeah, but the other thing too, I was thinking about Aaron is that he came from Traitors UK. He was on the first, and he won Traitors UK. So he did the reverse that you did. He did the Traitors to Love Island USA pipeline. So I thought that was interesting as well. As we finish up, though, I wanted to talk about Traitors season 3 and your opinions on the cast. If you do have opinions on the cast, you've seen the cast list, right?
Yes, I got to go from memory now because I don't have it up in front of me.
Well, I got it right with me, and I can go through it with you. But we've got Bob Harper, who's a trainer from The Biggest Loser. Bob the drag queen.
I'm excited to see Bob Harper because I used to watch The Biggest Loser with my dad. Even as a 10-year-old, I'd go up and we'd be watching The Biggest Loser. Even though it's not the best for losing weight as a personal trainer, I know that. Absolutely awful for you. But it's just fun seeing him back on screen because I haven't seen him since The Biggest Loser on screen.
Yeah, you're right. I haven't either, actually, but I used to watch The Biggest Loser as well. So that'll be fun to see him in there. And then Bob the drag queen we have. And I hear they are amazing, supposedly at gameplay from what I hear. And then we have Brittany Haynes from Big Brother. And Big Brother contestants, they're a whole nother level of game playing as well. So I think she might have a good shot.
Yeah, and I think, I really hope they don't make her a traitor just because it's so now it's stereotypical to get rid of the Big Brother players out right away because they're going to be a traitor. If they've taken a traitor at this point, if I ever go back, I'll be like, okay, get rid of the Big Brother people first. I don't even care.
Yeah, I mean, Big Brother people, and I to a lesser degree, Survivor people as well. Survivor people seem very locked into gameplay, and we have Carolyn from season 44 of Survivor, which I mean, she was really high energy and a very interesting personality. So I'm curious to see how she does with the new cast of people.
And she's from Minnesota, so I'm meeting up with her this weekend to talk about Traitors season 3.
No way! Oh my God, I love her.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get all the tea this weekend.
Oh, oh my God, that's amazing. Okay, then we have Janelle Ion, who's Real Housewives of Dubai. So she's going to be in the Housewives camp. And we've got a lot of Bravo people. So we have Sierra Miller from Summer House. We have me too. Really, I think she could be Dark Horse.
She definitely could. I think whether faithful or traitor, she's not getting banished at least until halfway through the season. I don't see her getting murdered or banished for a while. She's going to make it for a while on the show, I think.
Do you think these reality show contestants, you went and did your research and you had known about these shows, but the Bravo people, they've been proven to not do their research a lot of the times. Do you think Tom Sandoval went in and watched the first 2 seasons of Traitors? Do you think Tom Sandoval went in, with strong gameplay? What do you think Tom Sandoval is going to do? And by the way, do you watch Vanderpump Rules, Karsten?
No, I don't, but my girlfriend does, so I know all the tea, especially with Ariana Madix being the host this year. I found out about the tea last year when I was on Love Island with Tom Sandoval and Ariana Madix, but I don't. I think he's giving me like Jax from House of Villains. Remember how Jax did on House of Villains? If you watched that,
They used to be besties. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, they grew up together, so they're the same kind of person.
Otherwise, Jax is probably like, you need to watch it because I didn't watch House, or I didn't know how game shows work. I did absolutely awful because he did awful at House of Villains. He was the first one
Yeah,
out, but
yeah.
so it was so entertaining to watch. I'm curious how the house is gonna take him in there, like especially with Sierra, because like I bet the housewives probably know who he is and what he's
Yeah.
done.
Oh, yeah. Because you're going to have Dolores Catania from Real Housewives of New Jersey, Dorinda Medley from Real Housewives of New York, and Dorinda already had I know Dorinda knows about Tom, and I don't think she likes Tom, so that I think is already going to be a relationship that is potentially going to be sour. And is that a way you want to come into a game though, with preconceived notions about other castmates?
If you're like a Bergie, yes, because I knew nobody was gonna murder me, nobody was gonna banish me. But if you have a preconceived notion, you're not gonna make it that far if it's a good one, you know. But as
Yeah.
a Bachelor, I don't think it's gonna help him very much because I think I'd be thinking let's just get rid of him. Like like we have no information on who the traitors are. Let's just banish him first. Like if I ever go back and do traitors, I'm like, let's get rid of the worst faithful. Like who's gonna help us the least when we get down to the final fire pit? Let's get rid of those faithful first until we get more information on who the traitors are.
Yeah, I was reading articles. It's like, man, keep the traitors around. Like, keep the if you have a strong suspicion, don't try to get them out first. We have Gabby Windy from The Bachelorette, and she's really funny. She has like kind of like this baby voice, and I find her really funny. So it'll be interesting to see her there. Then you have Lord Ivar Mountbatten, who is part of British monarchy's extended family as the second cousin of King Charles III. Why do they always throw somebody from British royalty in there?
Because I think if they try to put someone from American politics, it'd be very controversial. So I think it's just funny having a British politician instead of an American one. I really do.
Oh, and then you have Nikki Garcia, who you were just on their podcast, their Love Island podcast the other day.
Yeah, I got to talk to her about it a little bit. She said she thinks our season's still going to be like pretty good because it felt like a lot of people were there for TV and not to play the game.
See, but
Yeah.
I mean, but Carson, I mean, listen, I don't think anything's going to top your season. Like to me, that like exploded the Traitors, and it got me to watch like the different foreign versions. Like I got so into it, and I mean, that was my favorite viewing experience during that time period. But I don't know, that's going to be really hard to top, and I think everybody wants to be on this show right now. So yeah, do you think that's going to make gameplay take a back seat?
Yeah, so that's the vibe I was getting from Nikki when I was talking to her about it. I talked to her sister Bria, I think a little bit more because Nikki had like an eye infection, but like the vibe I was getting was like Nikki kind of was like saying like it wasn't as fun as she thought it was going to be because like there was just the big personalities there trying to make their 15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, I mean that's the difference I think between like the UK version and the American version, where there's like celebrities involved, is that everybody is there to get seen. So I think it's going to be a big mess of a game. You also have Boston Rob from Survivor, who's like really great at gameplay. You have Sam Ashgari, Britney Spears' ex-husband, is randomly in there.
Yeah, why the hell he's in there? And Boston Rob, it would be so. I want to see him work it as a faithful because I was a faithful and I just want to see how he navigates the game as a faithful. Because one, he's got to convince everybody he's not a traitor, so that's entertaining. But if he's also the first murdered, I'm gonna be so pissed because I want to see how he navigates this game.
If you were the producer, Carsten, who would you choose to be the traitors this season?
Non-gamers, just non-gamers. Make the gamers try to figure it out because they're gonna be thinking that's a gamer, you know.
Yeah.
Like all non-gamers, just do all non-gamers. People would
But if
be,
it's non-gamers, then will it be so obvious that they're traitors that the gamers will like completely take them out immediately?
I don't know, because like if I was ever a traitor, I would do it so randomly. Like I just like, okay, let's get this person because he's on this part of the wall. Like versus I'm gonna go for number 20 on the painting
Yeah.
of the wall. I'd be like a serial killer. You don't have any. It's like you don't even have a there's no reason why you're killing them. You just kill them.
Yeah. By the way, that's what my friend wrote for Criminal Minds, and they had an FBI agent come in and talk to them, and they said the only way that you could actually get away with a murder is if you just randomly killed somebody that you had no connection to, that you decided to that moment, did something, killed, and just walked away. That's the only way. Other than that, you will like leave yourself open to be caught. Period.
Yeah, because I was thinking about like how would I navigate it? Like Peter and I go back. I'm a traitor. Do I murder Peter right off the bat? Like, will that lead back to me, or would people think Bergie would never kill Peter? Like, I was trying to do that in my head because like that's pointing right back at me because they're gonna be thinking of Bergie and Peter are together, you know. So like, no matter what, like eventually I'm gonna have to get rid of Peter. And like, how do I get rid of Peter? Like, that's so hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's the other thing too is if you did this again, would you be so intensely? I mean, would you look different at being a part of like the Pete team or like making that so obvious that where people then started coming against you guys because you were like a faction?
Yeah, I definitely. The other thing is too, I hate floaters. Like floaters piss me off more than anything. And we had a lot of in the season, and I was just like, pick a side. Like let's go, let's hash it out. But like there were so many floaters in my season of Traitors, and it drove me nuts. Like Sandra and CT were the biggest floaters in my season. They would talk like, oh, well, what about this? What about this? What about? Because I knew what they were doing, but I was just like, you guys are pissing me off.
I mean, what did you think about? I forgot. I didn't get to talk to you. What did you think about like the finale? About like Mercedes, Trishelle, and CT. Like, what did you think of that? Did you think the right people won? And did you understand Mercedes's anger towards Trishelle and CT?
I don't understand it towards Trishelle, and like I don't think a lot of people know this, but we heard it at the reunion, and it didn't make the air. But Trishelle said the reason she voted for MJ the second time is because she watched her write Trishelle's name on the chalkboard. She saw Trishelle be spelled out instead of just CT. Like she knew how long it was taking. It was Trishelle instead of CT because if it was so she's like, I have to vote MJ out because I have no other choice. Otherwise, we're going to be at a stalemate again. So it wasn't so much because she really thought CT was a traitor still the second time she wrote MJ's name down. But she's like, screw it. I'll just let CT win now. I have no other option right now.
No, I mean, it was an insane finale. And I hung out with Mercedes and she was really mad. She was genuinely mad. Like I was like, well, but don't you understand this? And she couldn't shake it off. And, I think she's better now, but I just thought, wow. But that's what you want though, is people that take this game so personally, because that means they're playing with everything that they got.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. I think we had a lot of like not playing it for TV on my season. Like there was definitely moments that you saw was being played for TV, but there was other moments where it was just us like naturally trying to win. And I hate when people say like, you know, none of the money matters to these people. I'm like, it matters to me. I got two like, I'm 23 years old in this castle. I'm trying to win. I'm not sitting back.
And then I guess finally, since there's a big push on the Traitors, like Emmys, like so much attention, all of this stuff. Have you kept in touch with any of your Traitors castmates? Because it really does. Like you guys were like a really good gang of people that we all really fell in love with. Do you still keep in touch with them or popping up with them at events?
Yeah, Phaedra, Janelle, Peter, and Trishelle are the people that I still talk to from the game.
Those are, man, Phaedra won me over again. She was just amazing. And why don't you make a t-shirt that says "My Sweet Burgalicious"?
I think I need to get like some t-shirt merch coming, like iceberg, and then have like a iceberg on it, like not my Burgalicious, my sweet Burgalicious. I think I need to get some t-shirt merch.
Yes,
I've been watching House of Villains. And Bananas is wearing his merch on his show. And I'm like, I kind of want to get some Bananas merch.
Johnny Bananas is insane. Oh my God. That's, but listen, so you are going back to school, your personal training, you are producing, hopefully, your own reality television show. Hopefully you're going to start a podcast at some point, but how else do we support you?
Yeah, I guess you just follow me on my socials. I should get like a t-shirt merch or something going. I don't know how to start that, but I definitely need to figure that out. But Bergielicious35 on Instagram, Bergielicious35 on TikTok and on YouTube.
Yeah, guys, I'll put all that information in the show notes. But if you ever want to talk shop again about Love Island, I'm always here because you got great takes. I need your daily input because I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to see, because you really truly are a fan of this show. And I think that's really, really exciting to get other people excited about this, because I think it's a fantastic season with a bunch of great weirdos in this cast. So thank you.
Yeah.
Carsten Bergersen, everybody. Thank you so much, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me.